Hi everyone, Adriana Popescu here to talk with you today about social anxiety. What is it and how do you overcome it? I was inspired to offer a class in this that's going to be coming up in March. We actually changed the date. Originally, I was going to do it in January, but now we're doing it in March 11th, on overcoming social anxiety. Because so many of the people that I work with seem to be challenged with this, being around people and being out in public and speaking with people. It's a complex issue that has a lot of different components to it. And for many of the clients that I work with who have, hi Violetta, who have issues with drugs and alcohol, a lot of the times what they're doing is they're drinking or using drugs in an attempt to quell this anxiety they have around being around people, being in social situations. Okay. It's also why people have cocktails oftentimes at a party, right? Because it's a social lubricant. We're using it to help ourselves feel more at ease, right? So I have a lot of people who have this issue, and I've learned a lot of helpful tools on how to work with social anxiety. And so I wanted to offer this class to you guys so that you'd have a chance, those of you who might have issue would have a chance to work with it and have more ease. All right, because what can happen when you have social anxiety, and of course it's along a spectrum, you might be a little bit shy, and it might go to full-blown agoraphobia. Agoraphobia, for those of you that don't know, is when you are terrified to be out in public. You can't leave your house. Um, and people who have severe agoraphobia are living really isolated, cut off, limited kinds of lives. It really can debilitate them to the point that they can't function. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, I'm actually a licensed clinical psychologist. So I specialize in addiction and trauma, and I'm also an empowerment coach. So I work with all kinds of people who have been really severely mentally ill and affected by these different conditions. And I work with everyday people, maybe like you or me, who have fears of public speaking, or who have, hi Melissa, who have fears of public speaking, who don't know, who get uncomfortable in social situations, who maybe are more introverted. That's going to be something we talk about, like how introverted are you, and how much does that make it difficult for you to talk with people? I have some strategies to come up with for that as well. Um, and so for how I'm going to approach this, so I've talked a little bit here about what is social anxiety. And it's really, anxiety is fear, fear of not being in control. And essentially, when you have social anxiety, you are terrified that you're going to do something stupid, you're going to say something stupid, and that people are going to judge you. That's like the typical version of social anxiety. And so when you have that, you're going to be really nervous when you're in front of people, whether you have to speak with people, like maybe in an interview or at a party. You're going to have issues with speaking publicly. You're going to have nerves that, like I said earlier, you may want to take like a drink or take a pill or something to help you feel more at ease. But basically, what's happening in this situation biologically is your whole nervous system is getting revved up. You're starting to move into that fight flight response, okay? And it's actually fight flight freeze. Fight flight freeze is when your body is panicking and you're starting to have this reaction of, oh my God, it's a life or death situation. And I will tell you, when they survey people about what their greatest fear is, most people's greatest fear is not death, which you might think. It's actually of public speaking. People literally have a life or death type reaction to public speaking. Not everybody, many people do, right? And so even doing a Facebook Live, right, brings up a little bit of, woo, like, I'm going to be in front of these people. I'm going to be talking in front of them. What if I say something stupid? You can't edit this. You can't, I could like take it off the air, I guess, but like, this is it, one shot. So everything that brings up, POC and POD, which is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, which I will be using. I'll say more about that in a minute. I'm going to be using Access tools and some of my energy psychology tools on this upcoming call that I have on overcoming social anxiety. But So going back to anxiety, what happens for people is, okay, we're all wired with this fight, flight, freeze mechanism that's supposed to help us should we find ourselves, let's say, in the woods being chased by a bear. Okay. Problem is, public speaking is not a life or death situation where you're going to be potentially killed, but your body is acting as if it is. And so here's the thing. I am a facilitator of access consciousness. I'm also a psychologist who's been using energy psychology tools for over 20 years. I love the access tools. I think they're great. I'm going to be talking a lot about what comes up in social situations, like our fear of other people's judgments, right? How we can get to interesting point of view and allowance around that. How we can pock and pod our projections and expectations of what we think is going to happen when we are speaking with people or out in public. I'm also going to talk a little bit about who does it belong to, because a lot of times what's happening in social situations is we're also picking up on the fears of other people who are thinking the same exact thing, like, oh my God, everyone's looking at me. They think I look stupid. They think I'm saying something stupid, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about some of the voices you're hearing in your head and where those might be coming from. I'm also a Talk to the Entities facilitator, so I work a lot with entities and demons. That can factor into social anxiety. When you're hearing voices telling you, you look stupid, you're saying dumb things, I can't believe you're even like trying to say anything right now, right? That's another layer to it. But I'm going to add some of the energy psychology tools to this call because I have found that when you start going into anxiety, like getting into that full-blown fight, flight, freeze response, like the panic response, I'm also, hi Adama, I'm finding that pock and potting doesn't work so well in those moments. And that's just been my experience and my clients' experiences. What I have found that works a lot better is when you can get your nervous system to calm down. And so one of the tools from energy psychology called tapping, or EFT, some of you may know it. You can type in the box too if you guys are familiar with this or if you have questions about it. Tapping is when we're tapping on acupuncture points, okay? And what we know about EFT and other tapping modalities and the way that they work is when you are tapping on these points, you are sending a signal to the amygdala, which is the fight, flight, freeze center of your brain. It's the emotional center of your brain, and it's the more primitive part of your brain that doesn't respond well to logic and reason and pock-potting and using those kinds of tools. It's much more primitive. It's your survival instinct. And so when you're tapping, you're sending a signal, a deactivating signal to the amygdala, and you're telling it to calm down. This is not life or death. There is no bear chasing us in the woods. We're okay. And so biochemically, what they've found is that you get your stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, all those start to come down. And your feel-good chemicals, your dopamine, serotonin, even your endorphins, tapping is great for pain relief. Your feel-good chemicals start to kick in, and so you get a relaxation response. And I think that that's really critical when you're dealing with social anxiety situations. So one of the things that I'll do is I'll have my clients, when they're having to go into a situation socially that creates anxiety for them, I'll have them like in the car before they even go into the thing. I'll have them do a few rounds of tapping to calm themselves down. Triggered while they're in the situation and they're getting really nervous and panicky, I'll have them go to the bathroom and do like 5 minutes of tapping in there, right? So to me, this is like the more enhanced way of dealing with this issue is when you take tools from all different modalities, all the different ones that I've studied over the years, and use the most effective ones for dealing not only with the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are coming up in your head that Access is really great at handling, but also dealing with the biological, the physical responses in your body that sometimes feel like you can't control them, even with your Access tools. So I'm really looking forward to having this class and exploring where we can go with overcoming social anxiety. It's going to be happening online on Wednesday, March 11th. I'll put, after the Facebook Live is done, I'll put some links in the comment section, so if you guys want to find out more, you can. If any of you have any questions right now, feel free to type them into the comment section there. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for joining today, And what can the tools of energy psychology and access consciousness contribute to you and any social anxiety issues you might have. You can find out more about me in these classes at adrianapopescu.org. Thanks, guys.